All right, good evening, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everyone. We've got a visitor's guest list over here. For anyone who has not yet signed it, please do. Thank you. Next, we will go with the approval of the work session board meeting minutes from 10/13/25.
Second.
No, you have to move.
I move to approve
Yep.
the work session board meeting minutes from 10/13/2025.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the work session meetings. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Spencer, you want to give us?
Yeah, move to approve the regular meeting board minutes of 10/13/25.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the regular board meeting minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Coming from this direction, it's
No, I
weird.
understand.
I don't know what to do with myself. I'm getting a little nervous.
I'll keep it moving. All right, Mr. Drill, prioritize the agenda if you would.
We should be able to go right down the agenda as it's listed.
Dynamite, I have one request.
Yes.
At the end of this meeting, would it be possible for myself and the other two board members to go into executive session to discuss your contract after the conclusion of this board meeting?
I believe so. We can do that.
We're good? Dynamite. You guys okay with that? I'll keep it brief. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, going down the list, we have superintendent report, Mr. Drill.
Good evening. Wanted to have everybody here, and thank you very much for being here. At previous board meetings, like my report suggests, we've been following along with how our attendance is doing with regard to our students across the campus. We are still up about 55 to 60 students. It shows a little bit there where each building is and where they were a year ago, so that gives you some sort of an idea. The other thing that's probably a little more important is kind of class size average. It's usually in November that I give you a class size average across the district because at the 7th and 8th grade level, and then also at the junior high level actually, and the high school level, because the different classes, some are required, some are electives, we've decided I don't normally go down that path. It's really around the elementary. And so right now, the average class size for Almsville is right at 25.2 students. Really skews it up because of the 5th grade class. It is huge. So that's a big, big class across the district. It skews up for the others as well. Turner's got an average class size of 23.4 and Cloverdale is 23.3. So we're in the ballpark there. Almsville is a little bit higher than it's been, but again, particularly their 5th grade is probably even larger based on the 4. And we don't count special ed teachers, we don't count PE, we don't count any of those teachers. It's just classroom teachers. So we take the number of students, divide by the actual number of classroom teachers for each building.
Darren, what's ideal? I mean, I know if it was one-to-one, it'd be ideal, but in the past, you've said kind of 30s are top end?
30 is at the very top end. We have about 4 classes right now that push 30 or are at 30. Again, 4th grade or 5th grade at Almsville is high, as well as a couple others, Cloverdale and Turner as well. We have a couple classrooms that are right there. But we also have classrooms that are 18 or 19.
Right.
So it really is dependent on the grade. Right, so some grades are higher than other
Right.
grades, and so
Right.
that's kind of how we balance it out.
The older the students, the easier it is to make those a little bigger.
Well, that's a theory. I would imagine we've got some administrators that could tell you, oh, that's not true at all. But I would say to you that along the way, yes, it is easier to get response from students that are older. So to have 40 kids in a freshman class might be a tad simpler than having 35 kids in a 3rd grade class, right? That in some ways that's a theory. So lots of research that can support that. There's also some research that refutes that. So just kind of the balance there. And then finally, the other thing I'd like to report is we as in the employees here at Cascade, particularly the administrators, have talked multiple times about the state and the potential cuts in state funding. The state has, since September, notified every agency, which includes the Department of Education, that it is considering making budget cuts because of the adjustments at the federal level. So the federal level during the July timeline was passed the big beautiful bill. That is, as a tax break essentially for everybody across the United States. That amount of money is connected to Oregon because Oregon's tax rate is connected to the federal tax rate. That means the amount of money that Oregon was thinking about bringing in when they did the legislature, right, when they finished at the end of June, they assumed that that bill wouldn't have passed. That means there was more money. Now there's going to be less money. So they are in the process of waiting for that to see what the next quarterly economic report, it comes out next Wednesday. We'll know more about it. Right now, every agency, including the Department of Ed, is working on basically some scenarios about what if we cut 1%, what if we cut 2.5%, what if we cut 5%. So consequently, Cascade, myself, William, Jay, at some level, we are all having a conversation about what that might look like for Cascade. That's on top of the conversation about how tight our budget's been over this last fiscal year, right? We ended last year with a lower cash carryover amount than we've been used to, and then this adds to that problem. So we're tracking that very carefully, we're watching very carefully, and here's hoping after this next quarterly economic report, we'll have a better response to that. Questions on that?
I will say on your report, I appreciate you putting in the numbers this year versus last year, just for a comparison. I mean, we see the numbers all the time, but in comparing it to where we were last year as a point in time reference, that's really helpful just for us to see how to measure it.
And please remember that 2 years ago, that was kind of our high water mark. We're actually about 25 kids higher than we were 2 years ago. So it's a good thing. The one thing I say, and we've talked about it before, is, for a number of years now, every grade has a 2 in front of it. That means there's 200 kids at least in every grade. Right now, in second grade, we have 199, so we're right at the edge of that. In first grade, we have 175, and kindergarten, we have 177. So suddenly we're seeing ones again. Not so much, I think, in our area with regard to people that have left from COVID and didn't come back. They chose a different educational environment for their kid. Some of that, for sure. But the reality is, across the nation, particularly in our state as well, there are fewer kids. So that's something that we're going to need to pay attention to as we move forward.
So
that's important.
So then the kids that are coming into kindergarten now were born in or 2021?
That first year of COVID.
So we're seeing less children.
These are the COVID. This is the first year of the true COVID babies.
Wow. Okay.
So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any questions? No? All right. No.
So, I know before we had a policy where we could let out of
District?
district
Yeah.
kids in. Can we open that just for certain grades, or does it
We-
have to be for the school district?
So you open it for the school district, but you can put caps on grades. So we've already done that, and we have brought students in at the end of the first trimester. We didn't do this last year. We have a few kids that are on waiting lists. We will check in. But parents are usually, once the school year gets started, they're not quite as excited about making that move. So
Yeah,
we
I'm
will.
not saying for this, I'm just saying moving forward, we could revisit that.
Yes. We can.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Anything else?
Anything? Nope. Good. All right. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Drill.
Yep.
Moving on, we've got the Finance Director's Report. Mr. Wong, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. From my note, you can see that I've been putting how much every month increase that the purse cost is costing for the district. Now, within 2 months, has cost us more than $440,000, just compared to last year. So I plan to keep doing this, so by the end of the year, we have a pretty clear idea how much more this fiscal year we're going to spend on purse cost than just the previous year. And then, fortunately, I think, Mr. Joe has been in the business for a long time, and he has developed, a purse reserve fund, and that's going to really help us to kind of storm what's going on right now. And state potentially, they're saying potentially state funding cut. I think I think it's going to happen at some point. It's a matter of time. Because, the federal level and also Oregon as a state, the economic right now is just very uncertain. A lot of massive layoffs, a lot of just business are not thriving as, 2-3 years ago. So we are watching it very carefully. We are trying to, create a lot of strategies and just trying to manage our finance, being very responsible. And my recent OASBO business manager meeting, the state school-wide have declining enrollment, PERS rates increase, and state school fund reduction. So I think I want to say with a lot of pride, I think Cascade has been doing a great job, fantastic. Not only educating kids, but also being very responsible with our finance. Because as a community like our size, we're trying to stabilize what's going on. So, we don't have to impact our teachers. We don't have to impact our students. We don't have to impact our community as great as, schools around us. If you, Silverton, and then, Salem Kaiser obviously is cutting $25 million. So I feel very fortunate, and I also feel like very proud that we should, do a good job. We are doing a good job, and we should tell our community member how good a job we're doing. And so that's kind of my note for today. And do you guys have any questions?
So what happens if time goes on and nothing changes with these budgets? What are these schools that aren't as well positioned as Cascade? They're gonna start cutting days or laying staff off?
Correct. For example, that I know, Dallas School District. I think in last school board meeting, I think I mentioned in the last 2 years, they already laid off about 70 people, plus they're furloughing, I think, 10 or 11 days this year. So that's going to keep happening, because once you don't have that cushion, the wiggle room for the school district just only going to get smaller and smaller.
Okay, so with that being said, we have a PERS reserve fund that you noted in here.
Right.
Based on the environment we're in today, how
Right.
many years does that fund, do we have it for? Is it indefinite? Are we gonna run out in 3 years from it?
I think that really going to depend on the school, state funding. How
Let's
much?
just assume it's just like it is right now, and we're gonna stay with the, I don't know, we gotta make some assumptions, but what are we looking at in that thing? How many years?
Yeah, if the state doesn't cut budgets at all, I think this will be a very stable. It's going to go higher and lower, higher and lower. By 2027, I think it's going to go much lower, but I think it will be pretty sustainable.
Sustainable, meaning we can continue to tap into that reserve without having to tap into our general fund to offset that cost.
Stable means that if our enrollment capped somewhere, okay, our school is maxed out, we can tap into the PERS reserve fund, so we don't have to tap into lower our
Right.
general fund too low, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, if they cut 2.5 million, I mean, 2.5% of
It's gotta
budget,
come from somewhere, yeah.
that's $1.5 million for
Right,
us.
right.
And so, so it's really hard to say with what really depends on November 19th, their forecast, in February, their legislative sessions, what they want to do. Because I think as a state, Mr. Joe said that they're going to have much smaller revenue than they expected.
Okay, so I have one more question for you.
Yes, sir.
So I'm looking at the fiscal report.
Right.
If we asked and said, hey, okay, we're seeing all these numbers, there's a lot of zeros on here and a lot of commas, they're big numbers.
Right.
Would it be possible if we asked and said, hey, show us the documentation that shows every dollar here?
Yeah.
Could you come up with a bank statements or accounting or whatever that said, here's a third party's, you add all these up, they come to that number?
Right. So everything in green, the actual,
Right.
is from our accounting system. What actually happened, the
Right.
projected in yellow, and the adopted budget, it's in our budget book.
Right, but what I'm saying is, do we have bank records to back up everything we're seeing here?
We do.
And so if I came to you tomorrow and email and said, hey, I can see the ending balance,
Right.
show me the numbers.
Yeah.
You could show me all that.
Yes, it's in LGIP, the the Oregon State Treasury System, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. That was, and I'm not asking you to get me that, I'm just asking if you could. So.
Well, if you do, I'm happy to give it to you.
No
And it's public info, FOIA me.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay.
We can assume that the state's budget's gonna go down.
I would, yes. I think it's going to
And you said
happen.
you guys have kind of created some ideas of what you would change if the budget did change. Do you want to get into any specifics about what would financially have to move from our budget to match the new, smaller budget?
So that's really more of the superintendent, like me as his advisor, I'll give him, hey, if we're going to this scenario, on the finance perspective, what does that mean? I think what Mr. Drill brings to the table is his experience that he was here, when 08, 09, 010, when things happened, negotiate with the union. So what I would give him as my advice is, let's say the state cuts 2.5%, that's $1.5 million. What does that actually mean for Cascade? Like, how do we minimize the impact that $1.5 million is going to create? It's going to create problems. How do we minimize it? By, restructure, by everyone doing a little more job. That's essentially Mr. Drill's call.
So Aaron, what we've done in the past is we get together with the administration and say, okay, what is our core value? Our core value obviously is, what do we do in the classroom for kids, right? And so it emanates out from there. What do we need to make that work the best? So we go through all of our personnel to see what we have, what touches school children the closest, obviously teachers, instructional assistants, administrators. How do we do that? And then we could look at, do we have any low-hanging fruit financially? So do we have money from last year that we rolled over? How much was that? Do we look at a number of other places where we do professional development? Where do we do with regard to buying or picking up new curriculum and instruction materials, right? That stuff's expensive. So we go through that process and say, hey, are there ways, pretty much in chunks, to cut back and go through that process? And I think one of the things that, and we've already talked to leadership for both association presidents. We've talked to them about, hey, this is a potential problem. This is coming. We need to talk to you about what that looks like. So over the course of this year, for example, if somebody were to quit, right, do we need to seriously have a conversation about, do we bring that position back? Because if we funded it for this year, right, we've already had 2 people resign this year, right, across the 355. Do we need that position back? If we don't, then we're saving the money for the rest of the year for that position.
Yeah.
Do we do enough of that? Do we do enough of when we get to the end of next year and somebody says, hey, I'm going to retire, I'm not coming back, or hey, I found a different job? How do we reshuffle the deck internally so that we can do the work without those people? Does it make it harder for everybody? Yeah. But do we do that in a way that, I don't know if it gets us to 1.5 million, but it gets us closer? And then, Brett mentioned the PERS Reserve Fund. We mentioned a couple other things that we've talked about. How do we balance all that information out? And the very worst case scenario, like you heard him talk about with Dallas and everything else, they went to the associations and said, how do you want us to do this? We believe we've cut everything we really can. We're now looking at personnel, right? We're looking at administrators, we're looking at classified members, we're looking at certified members. How do we do that? Can we do it one way where if we let go of 3 or 4 people, right, does that get us to where we need? But then we've lost those people. And that, of course, there's a process for that. That process is based on seniority, based on the association and the district's agreement that we have in the contract. Or is there a way to do it with regard to a furlough day or 2? So those are the conversations we need to have as we move forward. Right now, as William's saying, the state is saying this is an exercise. Okay. It's an exercise. After November's 19th report, we might have a much better idea of what the state is going to ask us to do. It does seem, because we are now in November, that what they've suggested today, when William was on a call and Jay and I were on a different call with regard to the state, that it seems that they are going to go to the legislature starting February 1st and ask them, how would you like us to cut this? So that won't leave enough time for us to really do anything at the end of this year. That means the bulk of the issue could come in next year's school year. That gives us time, right? If people were to resign and things like that, and we could shuffle, then we need to talk about how that works and see what we can do to save money. I hope that helps the question. Does that help get you to where we need to be?
Sure.
Okay, all right. If not, let me
I-
know.
I just, my concern is I know that we just kind of squeaked through last year coming into this year. And so now to then change that budget again, I don't know if we have that much wiggle room. So I know that if that does play out, it is going to be really tight on you to make some hard decisions.
The wiggle room is smaller. We will make tight and hard decisions, but we also have about 50 more kids, 50 to 60 more kids. That helps offset the cost,
Yeah.
right? And we do have some reserve money, which can help us. It's just a matter of, some people would say, well, you use it all right up front. Well, okay, if a year from now or 2 years from now, we're still in a hole, then the kind of cuts that we were just talking about come much quicker. Or do you glide path your way down slowly? Right, it's a matter of choice. For some districts, they don't get that choice. That cliff is right here, right now, they're gonna fall off. We're hoping for more of a rolling hill downward. That's what we're trying to accomplish, so.
I just have one thing.
Yeah.
Mr. Wing, I've been hearing all this about the $25 million that Salem Kaiser's
Right.
is cutting. Do we have a sense of what that is percentage-wise? Obviously, that's a much larger budget than ours. So if we were talking about, is that a
About 4% of their general fund.
4% of general fund? That's exactly what I wanted to know. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, anything else?
I just want to make one more comment. So this is going to be a fairly complicated process, like how all this unknown factor is going to play out into the budget. It's going to be very complicated, and just like Mr. Joe said, what we're trying to do is smooth it out, and we can. And I'm very confident we can. He was here 20 years ago, and he's seen this, and I know, like, when I talk to him, he understands. So I'm very confident we can smooth this out and look at other school districts and look at where we are. We're in a much, much better place. So,
Understood, yeah.
yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you
Yeah.
very much, appreciate
Thank you.
it. Moving on, 4C, High School Assistant Principals Report, CTE Director's Report. Ms. Walisa, welcome.
Hi, everybody. I come to you a little earlier this year, so something about our athletic director being a football coach, we're doing pretty well, so
Yeah.
he asked if I'd swap him. So I get to see you guys this month and not in January, so sorry for the disappointment, but I'm happy to be here.
Glad to have you.
Okay, so everybody should have my board report in front of you. I focused this time, I've talked in the past about how really my first trimester is all college focus up front. And then as we move towards the end of the year, we move our focus from college to career. So we really do that in partnership with when FAFSA opens and different financial aid and opening of scholarships to really help our seniors and provide them with as many opportunities as we can to get the resources that they need to get post-secondary ready. So one of the things that really kickstarts our year is our college fair. I was really excited for this year. I had one of your own come and see that, and I was really, really thankful for that, so thank you for swinging by. We invited 32 different colleges, trade schools, branches of the military. We had 30 show up. Sadly, Pacific and George Fox were ill and emailed me that morning, so we were a little bummed out, but 30 is a great turnout. And we invited 6 other schools to come and participate in that with us. So last year, we only had 3 other schools. So word is getting out, and it keeps getting bigger each year. On top of that, we also host our college presentations. We were lucky enough to have 10 different colleges that represented 6 different states, if you include North Dakota and South Dakota. I think I put 5 in mine, and I had lumped those together. That's my bad in the report. So 6 separate states represented, some via Zoom, some that had come in. So St. Martin's University came in from Washington to do their presentation. The Dakotas, sadly enough, were only able to do it on Zoom, but it was still a really great turnout full of the strong agriculture education schools. So we were able to get our ag classes to see that, which was really nice. And then to build on that with the whole reason, we kind of end it with a financial aid night where we present to our seniors and to families of seniors about FAFSA, how to go through that process, what kind of financial aid options are there. We partnered with the Opportunity Center for that, and so we had Marie and Kathleen Rasmussen there, as well as our college and career coordinator, and Chemeketa Community College came and helped with that this year, which was really great to have their opinion, their thoughts, and honestly, their answers to some of the questions that I am less familiar with, because you can't know everything until you get to learn it. So that's kind of where we were for the colleges component. As we're moving a little bit forward, a few shout outs. We now have an OSHA 10 certified trainer here on campus. John Iverson went through a very lengthy process through
What is
Shemeketa.
OSHA 10?
So OSHA is a certification
Right.
for safety, so OSHA 10 is that test and the training that you have to go through in order to pass, like kind of the certificate that you would need to show that you have enough knowledge of OSHA 10 to be certifiable for certain jobs. So like you've gone through OSHA 10 safety, you can therefore meet these certain qualifications as you understand OSHA. So he is a certified trainer for that now, which opens the door to a large variety of students who are able to do that. We've always offered the pre-apprenticeship program since always, meaning at least since I have been in here, when Mrs. Iverson was in this role first. And so that's one of the certification options that students could get as part of a pre-apprenticeship program, which means that as students complete that program and have the certificates, if they're applying for apprenticeships following high school, their name gets a little higher up on the point scale,
Okay.
leading them more likely to be job ready. And so that's one of those qualifying areas. And it used to be incredibly difficult. You'd have to sign up, you'd have to get a bus of individuals. It's a 2 or 3 day process with Shemeketa, or very lengthy 10-hour training online that nobody really wants to do online. So the fact that we have a teacher now here that is able to provide that opportunity is huge, and it was wonderful of him to be able to do that. So we're really excited.
And do we know how many kids have been certified?
This year, he just got his certification, so it happened maybe 2 weeks ago. So he is working towards that primarily in second and third trimester with his trade skills and
okay.
advanced
So it
manufacturing
would take
students.
a whole term for.
He's going to break it up over it, so it's not sitting for 10 hours straight solid. He's going
Right.
to try to add it into that unit.
But that whole term, they would do those 10 hours over
Mm-hmm.
that term, and so at the end of the term, they would be presumably OSHA 10.
Yeah, for those that are
Eligible.
interested in going through that
Got it.
process. Yep,
Got it, okay,
which is really great.
definitely.
And then the last part, I kind of just talk about some partnerships. We partner with the Willamette Work Ready and the Willamette Career Academy, which are both through the Willamette ESD. And these are all individuals that we partner with. You guys would have gotten a nice fancy impact summer report that the WCA put together, which shows you what type of certification options that students are doing within those programs, how Cascade is doing, and then also kind of an overview of what their programs look like. And so they offer opportunities for college credit, hands-on learning, certification, and then credits towards high school graduation on top of that, mostly in science. Some of them also offer credits in mathematics, depending on the program. So a lot of different options that are available. And so some details, and just they put it together in such a nice compiled package that it's easy for you to take a good look at. And then the other page that you guys had these are our partners for when we do our career fair, and some of the opportunities that they give with that, including access to virtual reality headsets that we get to check out free of cost. So if you were Deb Belmore, you were putting a tire on an aircraft the other day, all from the safety of her classroom with these VR headsets. And so lots of different ways to get students who maybe don't know what they want to do an opportunity to explore over 160 different careers. So it is a really great thing to do. I know it's a lot of information. When I come in here, I like to give you a full, here's everything.
Do we have any idea how many kids are going post-graduation into college, or a 2 or a 4 year versus going to a trade?
I could tell you what their projections are through Mr. Potacek. I can get that information for you.
Yeah,
He
yes.
meets with every senior, so
Yeah.
he's doing his first round of senior meetings now. And
So
as
he
soon
kind
as,
of has, and that's
Yep.
so what you're telling me is what they tell him
Yep.
then, whether it comes to fruition or not, we don't know, but it's. as good a guess
exactly,
as we
but
can get.
he would be able to give you a number in terms of how many students he's met, and Kathleen Rasmussen at the Opportunity Center does the same thing. So that way it'd give you an idea of what their post-secondary plans are.
Yeah, that would
and-
be interesting to know
Yeah,
if we could
most
get
definitely.
that, just.
I could
to know
probably
what-
have to you within the next month or so, maybe what an idea of this year, but I have last year's also,
Yeah,
so
that'd
you
be
can
great,
get an idea.
Just out of
Yeah,
curiosity,
I'll share
to
that
see
over.
which direction kids are going, and frankly, I'd be interested to know if we're seeing people trending more towards school versus trades or vice versa, just kind of what the trend is doing.
I will say off of his numbers last year, we have a lot that do proceed with the 2-year community college route, and what they go after that is interesting, but Shemeketa has been the most popular option that I have heard from students this year in terms of
Right.
what their plans are.
Right.
Some of those for their trades programs, and
Right,
other
sure.
ones because they're interested in transferring to a 4-year university,
Okay. No. All right, fair enough.
so.
Questions? No? All right.
Amazing.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Moving on, we've got 4D Junior High Principals Report. Ms. Leday, good evening.
Good evening. In the report, I kind of had talked to you guys about, mentioned the Veterans Assembly, and today we held our assembly. And I want to do a major shout out. Willona Bielenberg and Hayden Tedrow were the ones who brought it to fruition today. We had 18 different veterans show up. We threw out a invitation to any veteran who might have been related to one of our students, and we actually had mostly grandparents and grandparents show up. However, one of our own staff members, Mr. Brown, served in the Army. G. Ma, who is a well-known substitute, and she actually taught here many years ago, Mrs. Henny, she was in the Navy and Air Force. And then we had one community member who had just heard that we were offering this opportunity to celebrate our veterans from the VWF, and he showed up. So it was it was a great opportunity. We had 2 different Boy Scout groups present colors. Our choir and band each performed 2 songs. Each individual veteran was introduced by a student, and they were given what their military rank was and or job, the number of years that they served, what division they were, and who they were connected to or how they were connected into our community. Then the leadership kiddos asked them different questions like, where had they been stationed, maybe what did they gain from being in the military, what did they do after they served in the military, and it was just such a neat opportunity. And I have to say, this is my favorite assembly all year long. Our students are super engaged and positive. One of my newer IAs, he's like, oh my gosh, that was the best assembly ever. And it just is. It's just this positive connection. And then we invited our, military people to come and have lunch with us, and 12 of them enjoyed and had, junior high lunch with either their kids or grandkids, or just came to enjoy our students. So it was a great opportunity. And then the last thing I wanted to share was some data that I didn't have when I put this together, but every week I kind of track how our kiddos are doing academically, and I normally track the failing kiddos. And at this point last year, I had 134 students failing, and this year we only have 87. So I don't know what the difference is. I don't know if we've had increased communication. I don't know if conferences being later. I'm not sure what the difference is. However, I sent the message to Greg and Molly, and Greg's response was, well, we have great kids, great staff, and a great culture. So that's what I'm putting it up to. We're just, the junior high is doing a good thing right now, and so I'm super pleased.
So let me back up on that. There's
Yeah.
87 kids currently that are failing.
Failing one or more classes,
And there
yes.
was how many last year?
134. That's like 50-some kiddos almost.
And this is in all grades?
Yeah.
How many kids total are there in there?
649 as of today.
12, 14%,
Yeah.
14%.
And it'll shrink in between now and, when we get to the end of the trimester, the 8th graders tend to kick in, they're the ones who we, really have the ability to hold their, feet to the fire.
Is it fair to say that a child that's probably failing in the 8th grade probably was also failing in the 7th and the 6th?
Oh,
This
definitely.
isn't a random shot. It's
No.
those same kids are the ones that are.
Correct. This is the first time, though, that they've been caught, and, really we pay attention because the school board policy is if you don't pass your core class as an 8th grader, you either do recovery and or summer school to get that class passed and move on to high school. We actually had a student this year who didn't finish his stuff and ended up at the Opportunity Center to start his first trimester, unfortunately, but despite the repeated warnings. So I believe we are one of the few districts that actually do hold 8th graders accountable. Would we love to hold 6th and 7th graders accountable too? But,
Right. What are you going to?
Exactly. However, I do appreciate that the reality does hit the fan, and I do believe that kiddos, once they move on to high school, it is a, an aha moment for them. If they want credits, they're going to have to pass their classes.
So of these 87 kids, that's what I was thinking on that. I'll come back to it. That just seems like a crazy number. Okay, here's what I was thinking. If we were to look at another district, just like we go to Sublimity or State District, are they seeing similar numbers of kids?
I don't know. I think it'd be a great question to ask.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just be interesting to see where we fell in the average. Is that the norm? Because it just seems like a crazy
It does
number.
seem high,
But then
and
when you tell me what last year's was, holy cow.
at this point, yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
everybody deserves.
And
a
could
high
it go
five.
worse next week? Yep, we could go backwards next week, I track per week, but it is. But I do know our counselors, I pull in every single eighth grader who's failing one or more
Right, but if you
classes.
told us it was 2, I'd say that was a huge number. So I'm not beating
Exactly.
up over it.
Oh,
I
no,
get
no,
it.
no.
Yeah.
What can we do to, reduce
Right.
this? And a lot of it's attendance, let's be realistic. If you don't show up, it's hard to do well. But I got to tell you, my staff, my instructional assistants, my counselors are working hard to get these kiddos
Right, and I'm
to,
not
yeah,
beating
oh,
up over
no,
it.
I know.
That number
It-
just seems big when you
It
just say it
is.
out loud.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
But I'm thankful that, we're, down to 12% and not at 20%. And a
Right.
lot of the kiddos who struggle, they've come to from other districts, and we're suddenly holding, them accountable. And that's an aha moment for them too.
Right. Okay, so there's lots of factors, I get it.
Yeah.
And thank you, I appreciate what you and your staff are doing to help bridge that gap. It's just crazy.
It is crazy, yeah.
Okay.
But most of them then make it, once they get to high school, they make it across the stage.
Right.
And so many of them that, are a summer school kiddo for me, I see them walking across the stage
Right,
as a
right.
senior,
So
and
there's
I'm
reason
like,
not to give up on 'em.
yeah, you got this, and some of it's maturity. They'll
Right.
figure it out down the road, we hope.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Questions? Nope.
Great, thank
That's it.
you.
Thanks so much. All right, I'm moving on. I've got Cascade Opportunity Center Principals Report. Ms. Thompson, welcome.
Good evening, everybody. I do have to say that one student that Ms. Leday mentioned is doing really well, and he likes it over there. He's thinking about sticking around. So we like having him
Good.
here, too. He serenades us with his guitar playing, so it's kind of cool. So my report's sort of basic, but I wanted to highlight something different that I haven't put on there in a while. And that's just a comparison of other standalone alt schools in the state of Oregon. I didn't do every single one, but I tried to grab as many as possible so you can kind of see where we stand as far as regular attenders, chronic absenteeism, which obviously has a play in graduation rates. So just a little bit of a snapshot of where Cascade Opportunity is comparing to other standalone alternative
What
schools.
does percent regular versus percent chronic mean?
So the regular attenders are the ones that are 90% or higher in their attendance rate.
Okay,
So they're considered by the state as regular attenders.
okay.
And then if they're lower than that, or lower than 85 or so, I can't remember exactly where it breaks down, but it's pretty high. They're expecting students to be at school at a pretty high rate. And so under that would be considered chronic. And the reason why I put this in there is we have what we call care team meetings every 2 weeks at our school. And we work with Ann Yunker, who is the attendance director of the district, and she comes over, and we have our whole staff there. So we run through students that we have concerns about. There's a protocol that we go through, and then attendance is part of that. So that's why she attends those. And she just pulled up some numbers because sometimes we kind of feel a little bit defeated. Right now our attendance rate is 86 point something right now. We ended the year we usually end the year over the last several years around 85, 86. And when you compare that to other schools in the district, sometimes we get a little defeated because our district has such wonderful attendance rates. And so she pulled that up just as a little, there were like 3 other schools that she pulled up, and we were doing pretty darn good with less staff. So we work pretty hard, and last year I shared an attendance matrix we have a multi-tiered system of how we approach chronic absenteeism. So there's ways that we work with our students, with everybody when it comes to encouraging attendance, and then we have specific actions that we take when, say, a student's been absent for 2 days straight. So there's things that we do to connect with that family, that student. And then what do we do differently for those that we just cannot get to school? And one of the things that's really helped us this year is we've kind of instated our GED program. It was going on several years ago before I started there. And since we have a newer staff member who has experience with that, we're able to keep some of our students on our enrollment because they're not moving off to Chemeketa or doing it at home or something like that. So we're able to keep our enrollment up. And comparing our enrollment right now to where we were last year about this time, we're up by, I think, about 10 students. And so last year we ended up at 104. Right now we're at, 96 or something like that. So we're getting just slowly growing there. And so part of that is because right now I have 3 students who are working on their GED, and they're able to just come to school, work on that, take their tests. So we're just keep plugging along as far as encouraging families and students that school is important, and just trying to keep their eye on the prize of graduating on time. So, any questions?
So let me ask on this, it says, I'm gonna go back to that percent chronic on yours. It says percent chronic and we're at 57.3 is what it says. 57.3 what? What is that percent chronic and 57.3 mean?
For our school
Yes.
or for?
For ours.
I have on here, it's hard when it's on the other side
I
there.
agree. That's the grad rate is 63, the percent chronic is 57.3. What, 57.3 what?
57.3 of our students,
57.3% of our students are chronic absent? Is that what that means?
yeah.
Okay. That's-
Yeah,
that was
it's
my
a high
question.
number.
It is, yeah.
That's why we have them.
Right.
That's why they come to our school, and that's why we have our multi-tiered system of approach.
So when you've got a kid that just cannot get somebody to come to class, what's the single best incentive you have in your quiver to get that kid to come to school?
I don't know if there's a single, it just really depends on the situation, but we do call, and we have a school cell phone because our families and students text. And, you know, I don't want to use my personal phone for that, and our landline phones can't do that. So we do a lot of texting, and it's not, you know, it's not, why aren't you at school? It's like, we really missed you today, this is some of the stuff we did. And a lot of times, it just takes a little bit of that communication, and we'll see them the next day. Now, do they come back for 2 days in a row? Not all the time. We do something called empathy interviews, so we just have a little sheet that we kind of meet with the families, and this is a higher tier for someone who just really won't come to school.
Right.
So we really do try to find out what those barriers are. Sometimes it's that they have a job and they're working full-time, and so then we come up with, well, maybe you could do your classes online, full-time online, rather than having to come in, because we can take attendance that way without having them actually physically come in so they can do their job. And other times, it's just that lack of motivation to do the hard thing. We're trying to build those resilient skills. And so it's not really one thing. We have classes that we require students to take called Student Success. So we work on different resilient skills like finding your purpose, self-awareness, empathy, all those kind of traits that will help them just as a person while you're in high school and post-high school. So another thing that has really, really helped us a lot is we have, over the last, I'd say, pretty strong over the last 3 years, is we have a student leadership group. And that's mostly led by our counselor. But they're also ones that will encourage others to come. So we've got a couple students who are buddies with somebody else, and they'll text them, or they'll say, why aren't you here? We have other things like, we had a field trip to an arcade recently for people who had a certain attendance rate. So it's just a whole bunch of little things. And our teachers and staff are trained to respond. And so, for instance, if a student is late, they get their tardy slip. And instead of saying, you know, you're late, why are you late? They're like, they just know to say, we're so glad you're here today.
Right.
It's kind of a flipping the switch of, because they know they're late.
Right.
we've done the home visits, and I would just have to say that most of the time that doesn't work. They just learn how to keep the lights off and not make any noise in the house.
Right.
So every now and then, we might do that if we think it's going to be effective, but most of the time, it really doesn't make a difference. It's those little things. It's trying to make school a great place to be,
Right.
so they want to be there. So I hope that answers your
Yeah,
question.
absolutely.
Probably
And
over-answered.
For what it's worth, I really enjoyed last year when you brought some of those students in here to talk to us. So if that's on the agenda this year again, that would be.
Oh,
pretty
I'll have to
cool.
tell them.
Great.
They're wanting to invite certain people to come over to the school and have like a coffee meeting. I've already told Mr. Drill about it, so, yeah, I'll let him know.
I'm sending Mr. Dyer. No, I'm joking.
Any
He's
questions?
already been there. I'll be there.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a question, maybe, or maybe it's a question. I just noticed the difference between, we show that you have 2 teachers at your school, versus Douglas County has 15 teachers. Do they have a similar setup? Why do they have such a drastic difference in the amount of teachers to student ratio than we do? And I mean,
Sometimes it
applaud
just.
you having 2 teachers and accomplishing what you
Yeah,
are.
it's kind of a double-edged sword there because, I hear, why do you need more when you're doing okay with what you have? Versus, why don't you have, a math teacher or this person? Honestly, I don't always know. I think it depends on budget. It depends on the need and the decisions that people make on how they spend the money. It just really depends. I couldn't really answer. We have a former administrator of an alt school. Is that Douglas County, your school, or is that Madras? That's Madras. So it just depends on, how the district wants to move forward.
Okay.
It does. Do you want to answer that at all?
One thing I would add to that is a lot of times it's about the method of instruction. So when I hear 15, I think most likely that's a very focused in-person alternative environment where we are more of a hybrid, where we offer both in-person and online.
Okay.
So when you do that, your numbers can be higher to your teacher ratio because of the asynchronous learning, so they can go at their own pace, versus everybody in the room together going through it in a very just synchronous format.
Yeah, that's
Understand.
right. Right. It does make it, because the online, our curriculum is about 90% online. So the online
Right.
program does the instruction.
Well, but and your graduation rate is considerably higher than theirs anyways.
Yeah, I think it depends on your students. It depends on how your school goes. We have to do something different than traditional education because obviously traditional didn't work.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to be as innovative
Yeah.
as possible with the resources that we have.
I appreciate you.
Any other questions?
Questions? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. We have elementary principals report, Cloverdale. Ms. Bradley, welcome.
Thank you. Am I that much taller than you? So we also meet with Ann Yunker for attendance, and this isn't on my board report, but it's just sparking my interest. But we recently looked through all of our students because our attendance is lower this year than it has been in the past at Cloverdale. And I tried to figure out why, but you can go through every single student and see why they've been absent, and they're all for very legitimate reasons. We've had surgeries or really bad illnesses, or there was a death in the family and they had to fly away somewhere. And so it's hard, and we're sending out letters to try and say, hey, we really need you at school, but then at the same time you have that understanding of life happens, right? So it's just hard to find the balance of when do you push and when do you not push. And the same thing and with relationships, especially with the secondary, like relationships is the number one key for attendance and trying to build those. And I mean, those are the kids that need that the most. And so it's just something that I think no matter what, that's what administrators just really can struggle with because you want to be firm because you know that they can't learn if they're not there. But at the same time, you understand that they're human too, and they're going through a lot. And for elementary, it's the parents that get them there. And so then you have to be hard on the parents too, and you still have to build your relationships with them. So, she's building it with the kids, but I'm also building it with the parents. I don't want them to get upset. And I've gotten some upset emails. So when they get that letter and they're like, well, do you want my kid to come to school when they're sick? And it's like, well, no, I don't. But, maybe you could just do appointments after school or, something like that. But it's tricky. I don't know. Attendance is a very tricky thing. So speaking of that, I put in our school improvement plan that we create. We have two major goals that we create. One is for reading. And so you can go through and see what our goal is, and we try to make sure that whatever goal it is, that it's somewhat attainable. So we chose just a very small percentage of hoping to increase by 3%. I can guarantee you that we would surpass that. So this is just our fall data. So when we take our DIBELS screening, you can see all of our kinders. So there's a far below, there's an approaching, and then there's an on or above. I didn't separate the on or above. I just figured they're all just in the green anyway. And then I put that kind of into a pie chart. So you can see right now we have 52% of our kiddos that are on grade level, but that is considering when you start a new year, the content is harder for them. So they still haven't learned a lot of that. So then you're going to see that they will improve over the whole school year. And then we do that same MTSS process that Marie was talking about, but instead of doing it for attendance, it's for the data. And it's something we've talked about before, where if students aren't getting it during their core instruction from their main teacher, then they might need to go to an additional small group. If they're still struggling, then they would go to an intervention, and we'll just do everything we can to make sure they get caught up through the year. So that is our reading goal. And then if you go to the next page, that's our math goal. And math goal is tricky. And because for some reason, Brian, do you know why kindergarten doesn't have, I'm sorry, this does not include my kindergarten data, but do you know why we don't have so much green for iReady?
For iReady for kinder?
For all grades, because they say it's hard in the beginning to do the green.
Yeah, you're assessing them at end of the year standards for that.
They're being tested at their current grade level, which they wouldn't have the skills.
That's right. That's right. So the math looks much lower. But what I wanted to show you, because I didn't want this to scare you, but if you go to the very last page, I just wanted to show you what happened last year. So if you look at just our fall DIBELS data, you can see where we started in the green and how much it grew to the end of the year, and then we minimized the red. And then if you take a look at the iReady, which is our math, you can see that it was all yellow for the math. We were at 65% yellow, and then we actually ended with 70% in the green, which is huge growth. Huge. So it always is difficult when you're looking at data in the beginning and comparing it to the end. It doesn't look like, it looks like we're really struggling, but it really does come through in the end for that. So any questions on the data for this? Oh, I'm sure you do. I'm looking at you. I see
Any
it.
questions?
Yes.
All right, so I want to back up a little bit.
Sure.
On the action steps, the plans to meet the goal.
Yes.
It says teachers will collaborate with ... to be successful and implement Abbott and reading strategies during core instruction.
Which page are you on?
Page 1.
Okay.
Go to the action steps, the last action step where it says teachers will collaborate.
Yes, with admin, reading
Yep,
specialist.
You got it.
Yep.
So my question is, I've been sitting here in this chair long enough that I've seen a lot of changes in how we're teaching and our philosophies, et cetera. And I've asked this before, maybe not of you. Do teachers ever get resistant to having all these changes shoved down their neck? Every year somebody goes to a different conference and they come back with a great idea, and all of a sudden we're doing something that is completely different than we did it last year. Are the teachers always receptive to this, or do you have to sometimes coax them, much like we do to get kids to come to school? Do we have to coax teachers to get on board?
Yes. It's a very delicate process. Oftentimes you need to be very strategic as to who you choose to take to go to the trainings, because you would also need to know who's going to be the most difficult to get the buy-in, but then also who's the most influential for your staff. So it does take a lot of strategy to figure that out. But then there's also teachers where they're desperate to find out something better. And they'll say, well, if this is something better, then I want to bring it. So just they absorb it. And then there will be some that say, nope, I've already tried that. It's not going to work. So it's always going to be the ebb and flow. But I would say that, yeah, strategy needs to happen all the
I
time.
would just think so. If somebody continues in their career, the longer they've been sitting there, they might say, hey, We've tried that.
Correct.
We've done that.
Correct.
And it's harder to get those folks, whereas a new person might be more open to saying, hey, if it's a new way to build the clock, I'm on board, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just curious, because again, I've seen this where a lot of times these teachers have to collaborate with, and I'm just curious what their response is every time somebody comes to them with a new plan.
It's tricky, but again, I think it gets easier the more you know your teachers. So building relationships with them, that takes time. So, for me at Cloverdale, I wouldn't have known who to have taken the first or second year, but now you're like, yeah, I know who I need to take. And it's just a strategy. That it's the same thing that teachers do with their students.
Right, but we
right?
continue to evolve is the bottom line.
You have to.
Teaching continues to evolve.
100%.
That's all there is to it.
Yep, and I think teachers, they value that they're lifelong learners. But change is hard, and if you've been doing it the same way for year after year, and you're like, well, I've got good data, why should I change?
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, well, take a look though. There are some kids that aren't getting it, so what you have been doing for the past 20 years hasn't been working. Why don't we try to learn something that just might help the kiddos in the red? Yeah.
Fair enough.
Good
So it's
questions.
constant struggle all the way around. Challenge, how about that?
Productive struggle.
There we go.
Let's call it productive struggle. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I just, other than a fun word to say, what is DIBBLES data?
So DIBBLES is our reading data.
Is that an acronym for something? Or is it just a cool word, like somebody's last name?
Well, it's all caps, so I would think that it is.
I would have thought so too, but I love acronyms.
Everything's an acronym.
Everything's an acronym. I just don't know what it means.
I think it
could
is an
be.
acronym, but I think it also, I think that's what they call it now. That's like the name of a way to do reading assessment.
I can probably just look it up. I just didn't
Let's
know.
just Google
That's
it.
So,
what I
yeah,
do.
so-
I'm getting my phone out and being rude.
Basically, what it does, depending on the age group, is it breaks down all the different reading components. So it starts with phonemic awareness, then it will test on phonics, then it will test on fluency, then it will test on your vocabulary, and then on your comprehension. So it just does all the 5, which is like the basic 5 components of reading, and it breaks it all the way down. So then you can look at it and say, so when you're looking at my reading data, that's the composite. If we were to really look at all of the DIBBLES data, then you would see there's a score for each grade for comprehension. There's just one for fluency. And so teachers get together, they look at this data and they might say, so let's say you're a 4th grade teacher and you can see that your kids are really struggling in vocabulary, but they might be doing really well with fluency. So then you can kind of figure out what you want to pinpoint to support your kids. So it really breaks down the data a whole lot better than what this is. So this is just chunking it all together so you can see it.
By definition, it is dynamic indicators of basic early literacy skills.
Dynamic. Well, that works for you. Dynamite. There you go.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a question actually.
Yes.
On the iReady, I guess specifically.
Mm-hmm.
You said it in a way which makes me think, so these are both tests you're doing, right?
Yes.
To get this data?
Yeah. Diagnostics.
And you're saying that you're having them run a test knowing that they're not going to know the information yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That they're not going to learn until you've taught it to them all the way through the school year. What is the point of the test knowing that they're going to fail?
So the thing about the math test, though, is it's adaptive. So let's say you start at a certain level. So you start at 3rd grade if you're in 3rd grade, and you start getting them right. Then the questions start to increase. But if you start to get them wrong, then they will get easier and easier. So it is adaptive in that component. The reading is different, though. That is just standards, right? But we just need to know who is able to do some of this, because some of our kids are. And then it can also break it down, like I was saying, about the components of reading to figure out what you need to focus on.
Okay.
Yeah. But even when we progress and see how they're doing and monitoring them all the way, we will monitor them on 2 different things. We'll do it on their independent level. So if you have a 3rd grader, but they're reading at a 1st grade level, you'll give them a reading passage at 1st grade to see if they're growing, but then you're still going to give them the 3rd grade passage because we want to see, are they still able to read some
So
of
it's
their
more just
own
trying to
grade
see
level
where they're at
content.
for the school year, and then
And that
then
can
you
be
can
hard for
grade
kids,
that.
though,
Okay.
right? And it is
That's what I was
hard.
wondering. I was like, are you setting them up for failure because then they feel like they failed right
Right,
off the bat? So
right.
just-
But at the same time, even if you can see that maybe the first time they had 69 words correct and then the next time they had 75, that's still showing growth. It might have been really hard for that child, but that's still growth, and that's another thing that we just have to monitor all the time.
Do you guys have a conversation with the kids to kind of like coach them, be like, hey, don't worry about Like, this is gonna be a hard test, don't worry if you fail or not, like,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
It's not just like, good luck, and then.
No, but
like,
I
let
will
them go
say
cry in
this.
the corner after they fail or something.
Yeah, my third goal that I didn't include on here was the importance of setting goals with students. And so this year, we're going, no matter what, we're going to take this data, and then the next time we do the assessment, again, we're going to say, hey, here's where you were, here's what you've been doing, what do you want your goal to be for the next one, just to see if they have that self-efficacy in themselves, to see if they can just be like, yeah, I really have that goal. I know that we've got incentives that have really worked well for junior high, but let's see if we've got some intrinsic motivation first of just some goal setting, and then having those conversations too would, I think, be really good. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on, we have personnel. Hang on, my computer go up. There we go. Mr. Weeks, welcome.
Hello, thank you. Just have one for you tonight, a name you probably recognize actually on there as well. Coming back for a couple months with us is Chris Elbert. So we have a math opening that's just for a teacher leave. That's just about 3 months long, and then the teacher will be back. So we've brought Chris back in and hired him to do the calculus courses in particular. So that takes, as we kind of know, a very dedicated skill to know how to do that type of math. So we're lucky to bring Chris back. He's got 30+ years of experience teaching, so.
Excellent. Great, anything? No? Thanks. All right, no, and next is probably Mr. Drill on the OSBA Board and Legislative Policy Committee elections.
So you've got board positions 11, and then a board position 12, and then you've got the OSBA LPC position 11 and 12. So if you remember a couple months ago, we had a former or a colleague board member from Salem come. And so apparently another school board did nominate him. So he is running against another person in Salem Kaiser. This is for board leadership. And Spencer and Aaron, you guys were there when they showed the board leadership positions. This is what he's running for. So you have a choice on position 11, and then only one person is running for position 12, and the same with the LPC position 11 and 12. So when you get to resolutions, you have a choice. You can vote for any of those people. You'd have to choose one for board position 11 between the two, or you can abstain and not vote. That is up to you.
Okay, so how do we, when we get to resolution 8B, and the bottom three are all just single. Let's just assume maybe we just say that's fine.
I would recommend that they were the only ones that ran. That's what I would vote for
So when
them.
we get to board position 11, that's got two individuals running, how do we decide collectively?
You would nominate one and see if you can get a quorum to get so the other two would agree, or you can abstain and not vote for 11, and we would send in that we abstained
Okay,
from your board.
all right. Are you guys clear on that for 8B, the resolution?
Are we allowed to have a discussion about it, or do we just have to?
When when you get to that resolution, that's when you would have your discussion.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fair. All right, good. So we okay on 5B then?
We are.
All right. Any questions here from you guys on 5B? Nope. Okay, informational item 6A, staff retirement from PERS. Mr. Weeks.
Mr. Weeks is back. PERS.
We have two different PERS retirements here tonight that want to finish out the year that have started with us. One of those in particular is Mr. Britton, technology instructor, and the other one is, sorry, I'm switching there to the right page. I think it is all Mr. Britton, so I apologize for that as I'm looking at that. Oh, there it is, Kendra Slawbach. Sorry, as going through the packet there. So the two of those, one coming here, that first one being Kendra over at Cloverdale, and then the second being Mr. Britton.
Excellent. Any questions? Nope. All right, thank you. And we're on to the coach advisor list.
Actually, I've got it right in front of me. I got it. But we're going to hand this over to you, because I've been doing this for a year. But no, not tonight. Not tonight. I just want to see how many times you go back and forth. I can do that. So you have the coaches list like we've talked about before. This gives you the wrap-up of fall. It also gives you the beginning of winter coaches for the various sports and activities that we do. Questions?
Questions? Nope. We're good, thank you.
Okay.
6C, understanding the consent agenda.
So I have that information as well, and I can explain it. However, my trusty executive director here of all things important with regard to the board, Lisa, is going to try to give you a little bit of information about a consent agenda process.
So we put this together for you. We've been kind of, we follow a lot of listservs with other school board secretaries, and almost all other schools are doing consent agendas. There are a handful like us who stick with the traditional, old school. We put this together and provided a sample. So basically what it is it allows you to just act on basically a single motion to vote on things that are non-controversial or traditional items that we would go through on a regular basis. Some of those samples are on that, like staff resignations. You're just accepting them. So everything in the consent agenda would be approved with one motion.
So I want to give my opinion on this.
Yes, sir.
This feels to me, two things. I don't feel like we're that tight for time where we have so much on our plate that we have to fast forward this. And it also feels like we're being asked to just rubber stamp a lot of stuff. I realize we go through the motions and a lot of it is just kind of rubber stamp. But this to me feels like we're throwing a whole bunch of stuff that's not real important into a bucket, rubber stamping it and moving on. I'm not a fan of it.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. I'm just one vote. I'm sure these guys have opinions that are separate. But it just feels like we're just trying to fast forward through something that
Understand?
doesn't, again, what's it gonna save us? 5 minutes, maybe 4?
Depends on what, on how many items are on a monthly basis, so, yes.
I would
I think
say,
we all have fun here.
I would say that, in a large, in a meeting with multiple reports and things like that, it can move you along. This has come up, I don't think anybody was here. This came up right after, Lisa was the board secretary before, right after she left the first time. I think it came up like my second year as the superintendent, and the board had a conversation and decided ultimately to leave it as it was and not go down that path, similar, for those similar reasons, Brett. So, I mean, we did have 2 board members. I think they voted, it was 3-2, which is unusual for our board. But they voted 3-2 to keep it as it was. Others are like, some of these seem pretty mundane and kind of a waste of time. But that's totally up to you guys. My suggestion tonight with 2 people missing would be that you would table it anyway, so that all 5 of you can
And
have that
I'm not
conversation.
dead against it to the point, it's not a hill to die on, but I'm just
Right.
thinking, it just feels like we're trying to dump a lot of stuff in a bucket, rubber stamp it, and then we're gonna sit here someday and say, oh, I didn't know. Well, it's because you just rubber stamped it and jumped right through that.
Sure.
Everything would still be included just like it is now.
I understand.
It's just saving you the motions of going through every single, like in our July report, when we're making 20 motions, of course would save in those kinds of situations, but
We all
Yes.
get paid very well to sit up here. We
I
can
know,
take the time.
I know you enjoy it.
For what it's worth, I'm a fan of them. I think they're helpful. They're a helpful tool to use to get through stuff. If you saw this, any one of us can pull something out. So for example, you said, hey, I want to talk about this, we can rip it out of there and have a discussion. But I think there are a lot of things, we tend not to be short on time,
Right.
but also, I think it could expedite a lot of things
Right.
if we came to
And I
that.
think we do pretty well up here as a group, so we're not in the weeds about every minutia thing, so we can fast forward through it. I don't know, it just seems like it's cutting an unnecessary corner to me right now. That's just my opinion at first blush. And again, if the others said, hey, we want to do it, then I'm on board. I'm okay with that. Just giving you my opinion.
I agree with Darren, I think you should probably table it and then
Right.
have a full discussion and
I
then,
agree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then decide how
That's
to
fair.
move forward.
That's fine.
Agree.
100%.
Okay,
And thank you.
thank you.
Okay, we've got board reminder. Oh. Auditor inquiry and safe schools. What do we need to do there, Mr. Director?
The auditor inquiry, so in July, when nobody was looking at their email, I think it was July or August, the auditor sent all of you an email that says you need to fill that out. So I'm sure that didn't happen because most people didn't take a look and see that. So the auditor is now needing you to read that email and respond to it.
I requested yesterday maybe for a resend on that email.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there a way to get that resent?
It's already
Thank you.
sent today.
Thank you.
Resent today? Okay, so please check your email,
Yes.
go through that, we'll get that done. The other part of it is the Safe Schools. If you haven't done your Safe Schools, because you are a board member, you're required to do the Safe Schools. So there's a little bit of homework for each and every one of you.
Has
That
it
needs
also
to be
been
good.
recently reset, or can it be?
We can resend the Safe Schools
So I'm
again.
not digging through my emails.
Yes.
Okay, we can do that as well.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Drill. Okay, anything else on that? No?
No.
All right. Moving on to 7 is public comment. No public comment, correct?
There was no public comment that was
Dynamite.
ready to go.
Then we will move on to resolutions, and we'll start with, normally I'd be on that side, so Aaron, you get to go first. Resolution 8A, resolution regarding new hire recommendations.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the following new hire recommendations as recommended by the administration. Chris Elbert, temporary math teacher, high school, MA, step 15.
Second.
8A, resolution regarding new hire recommendations has been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8B, resolution regarding board and legislative policy committee elections.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to select the following candidates for the 2025 Board and Legislative Policy Committee elections for those listed positions.
Okay? So here's where, we'll have our discussion now. My opinion is I'm fine marking yes on the 3 that are unopposed.
Agreed.
Agree?
Okay? Anybody have any opinion on the 2 that have multiple people running for position 11?
I reviewed the materials. I don't have a strong feeling either way.
Okay.
I know that we had, the gentleman came and spoke with us, seemed like he had good things to say, but I candidly don't have a real good basis for making an assessment of either of those candidates.
Okay.
So I feel like I don't have a strong position. I don't have a position either way on one or the other. So
Okay.
I guess my thought would be we just don't have unless you guys have strong feelings, in which I would take your thoughts at those.
Aaron?
I did appreciate he took the time to come, so I think that sways me towards him, but I'm kind of with you, where I'm not like, I don't really have a strong opinion either way. I just appreciated that effort.
Okay, so I'm in the same boat. I have no opinion. So my suggestion is we leave 11 unvoted. We abstain on the position 11. Okay. We're good with that, abstain, and then 12, the Mel Fuller on 11 and Lisa Harnage on number 12. We're good on that?
Agreed.
Okay, that's our discussion. So it's been moved.
Second.
All right, 8B, resolution regarding OSBA Board and Legislative Policy Committee elections has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Future agenda items, Mr. Drill.
We have traditionally, over the last 7 years, I believe, I think I went back 7 years, that due to the holidays and not a ton of information on your list, that we skip the December board meeting and take back up in January. So that'd be the one thing that, if the 3 of you kind of nod yes, that
Any
is.
objections to that, gentlemen? I'm on board with it too. I think that's a fine
Okay.
idea.
So we will have our next board meeting in January, and we'll start putting together the list of what information you will need.
Dynamite. Then on that note, we will adjourn and go into the exec session I requested.
Got it?
Dynamite. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you all coming.